Apex Instruments encourages you to use or perform any maintenance on this equipment safely. In this video, we may show an icon that conveys a safety hazard or risk that is associated with the operation performed. Be mindful of inherent hazards such as pinch points, sharp objects, or shock injuries.
Hey, I'm Joe Thompson with Apex Instruments Technical Service Group. I'm going to show you how to perform software and firmware uploads on your XD-502 console. When you power on your console, the firmware version will appear on the screen. We can always find the latest versions of software and firmware on the Apex Instruments website. So we'll begin by going to www.apexinst.com. Once we're on the website, we can move over to Support, and under Support, Software Downloads. Software and firmware are developed and tested as a matching pair. Mixed versions can result in corrupt data and errors, so always ensure you use matching versions. On this page, you'll notice under the Software section that it has XD-502 software. This is the latest version of the XD-502 software. So to download it, we'll click on the link and then we'll need to extract it. We can extract it to wherever we choose, but for the purposes of this video, we'll extract it under Downloads. So once we've extracted the file, we can create a shortcut and paste to our home page. Once we've pasted the shortcut to our home page, we can now open the software. A message may appear, but you can click Run. And now we're able to open our newest software. So now we'll move on to our firmware. So we'll go back to the website and scroll down. Under the firmware section, you'll see XD-502 firmware package. This is the newest firmware, and we can click on the link to download it. We'll need to extract this as well. And we can also extract this under Downloads for the purposes of this video. So once the file is extracted, we can open it, and you'll notice more files appear. The first thing we'll open is the XD-502 firmware upload README. This is the instructions on how to upload firmware to your XD-502 console. The first step is to download the Apex Firmware Uploader. Under the folder that we extracted, you'll notice that this appears here. The next step is to download the pitcodes.ini file. This was already downloaded as well. And the third step, download the latest XD-502 firmware. This is already in the folder that we extracted as well. So all the files that we need to download have already been downloaded. The next step is to ensure that the console timer and DGM values are zeroed. We can't upload firmware if this is not the case, so ensure that you do this before we move on. Once you've ensured that these values are zeroed, we can power off the console using the main power switch on the front. We can then connect PC to console USB port using the USB-A to USB-A cable. After we've done this, we can power back on the console using the main power switch. open the Apex firmware uploader. A window may pop up and you can click on Run Anyway. And then we can click on Browse in the upper right corner. Navigate to the latest XD-502 firmware hex file. So under Downloads, the XD-502 hex file appears. Once we found it, we can click Open down at the bottom. The next step is to click on the Auto Confirm Communication. In the left menu area, ensure that the firmware uploader finds the console. So we'll move over and click on Auto Confirm Communication. And we can see here it says device detected, so it found our console. The next step is to click Right Device in the upper left menu area. So we'll click on Right Device. It says wait for program to stop writing. Green bar will stop loading and firmware will display finished. So right now the green bar is loading. Get the transferring hex successful message. So we can then escape and power off the console. We'll power off the console with our main power switch and wait about 5 seconds. And then we'll power on the console again with our main switch. Once we power the console back on, it will display our new firmware version on the boot screen. And then we'll finally be able to ensure that the firmware was uploaded successfully. So once the new firmware has been uploaded successfully, we can escape out of everything. And then we can open our XD-502 software. Click on the COM tab and then click on USB. There was a successful communication between the console and the PC, and all the information from the console moved over, as displayed by the yellow fields here. This concludes our tutorial on software and firmware uploads. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Thank you.